So hey guys, it's Matt here with Matt's Vintage Video Games. Today we're going to talk about this little guy right here. This is my retro game emulation machine or system. I call it a Super Pretendo. You can call it whatever you'd like. Looks like a little Super Nintendo system. You can see that real well there. It looks like a little Super Nintendo. The buttons actually work. The controllers are USB controllers, so it'll work with any wired USB controller. Package includes every single thing you need. This is full HDMI, quickly and easily hooks up to any flat screen TV. This is not something that I buy and resell. This is something that I build myself. So I just use a little computer, which is called a Raspberry Pi 3. I put it all together. I do all the programming, the wiring, everything's already done for you. It's already put together and complete. You buy this, you take it out of the package. Everything's in here. You need to hook it up. You just plug it up, hook it up to your TV, turn it on. You got 9,000 games at your disposal. This is old school stuff, guys. This is retro. This is everything from Atari 2600 all the way to Super Nintendo, everything in between. So your NES, your Sega Gen, your Sega Master, your Game Boy Color, your Game Boy Advance, all your Pokemons, all your Marios, every game you remember as a kid, your Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, 9,000. These are full-length games. These are not bits and pieces. You can save any game at any point within the game. And I make these myself. I pack this up myself. I send it to you, and I guarantee it for a lifetime. If you have any kind of problem with it, if it ever quits working for you, send it back to me. I'll fix it, replace it. The only thing I'm not going to cover is the motherboard. If you do something to it and you fry it, you may have to pay for the parts for that. Otherwise, yeah, if the programming quits working on you even a year from now, send it back to me. I'll fix or replace it. I send a lot of these out, and I'll be completely honest with you. I've only had 2 or 3 ever come back, and it's a very simple, quick fix. I just fix it up and send it back, but I've sold lots of these out. Most people buy them. I never hear from them again unless they comment how much they love this thing. So, yeah, I appreciate it, guys. They're 150 bucks. Like I say, I'll pack it up for you. I'll ship it out. I ship items out every day. They expect to have it in 2 to 3 business days. I ship anywhere within the United States. Yeah, so if you need any more information, hit me up on my Facebook or visit my website. It's www.mattsvintagevideogames.com. I want to welcome you to the tutorial video for my retro game emulation system. When you purchase one of these from me, this is what you get. This is the package. Everything's in there that you're going to need to operate this thing, and I'm going to show you a little bit about it. Please watch this video in its entirety. It's about 20 minutes long. It's boring as hell, but it's actually going to tell you everything you need to know about this system. We're going to talk about save states. We're going to talk about troubleshooting. We're going to talk about hookup, everything like that you need to know with this device. So stay tuned, watch it, and use this video as a reference guide if you have any problems in the future. So these are your package contents. This is what's included in the package when you get it from me. Everything's in here you need. You got your power cord, your HDMI cable. That's going to hook the system up. The system, of course, the system itself is included. Everything's done on it. Everything's put together and wired, and everything's ready to go. So you don't have to do anything to this. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to have Wi-Fi, internet, none of that stuff. This is just basically a plug and play that I've programmed. You get your brand new controller with it. This controller is just a USB controller, and it looks like a Super Nintendo controller, so it works very well with this system. Also have a detailed instruction manual included in this. I want you to read through that for me. All my contact information is on there. Also, if you have any questions or concerns, just give me a call, guys. I'm on with the rest of the video. So I want to talk a little bit about hooking this system up. It's very simple. So on the back side of this system, you see 3 ports. You're only going to use 2 of them. This port right here, you're not going to use at all. So you're only going to use these ports here. The larger one here, that's your HDMI. Just going to plug in your HDMI cable that I supply with this into the back of it right here. Then the other end of the HDMI is going to go into the back of your TV. Most TVs nowadays have more than 1 HDMI slot, so you'll just choose the one that you want to use with it. Make sure your TV input is on the correct HDMI space, and then it'll come up on the TV. Your power cord right there, It's just a little, basically called a micro. Let me try to show this to you here. Micro USB. That is your power cord. So you plug that power cord right in the back of here. Now there's a little flat spot, like one side is flat and one side is rounded. So the flat spot goes towards the bottom, and just real nice and gently just plug it in there. You'll hear it just snaps in a little bit. Simple as that. Plug that in, plug in your HDMI cable into the TV, and then once you get it all hooked up, you're going to push this power button. You're going to slide it up, push it on. When you do, you'll hear it click like that, and the light will turn red. So when that light turns red, you know it's on. You should be getting power, and you should start to see some things on the TV. And now we'll go over that next. So when you hook this thing up to your TV, this is what's going to happen here on the screen. It looks a little funny. It looks like a computer program, and it essentially is. It's a computer booting up. So it just takes a little bit of time for that. You know, it takes about 30 seconds. It's not too long. Just give it a little time. You'll see my splash screen there come up. My website comes up, and then all those letters and numbers on the left hand side that scroll up the screen, that's just showing you that the system's booting up. So simple as that. That's your boot up. Takes about 30 seconds. Just be patient and let it boot up. So now that you're all hooked up, you're all loaded up, you're ready to go. This is your main screen. This is where you end up at. Left and right, just go through all the game systems that are available to you. When you first get the system, you'll have to sync your controller up to it. Now, I've already done that for you, so you're not going to have to do it. But if you ever do want to put a different controller on it, or you need a new controller that's a different brand of the one that I give you with it, your system's not going to recognize it until you configure that input. Configuring input is the same thing as hooking up a controller. You just plug the controller into it. Then what you're going to want to do, if it doesn't automatically come up for you, you'll want to get to that menu by pressing your start button, and your main menu will come up. And when that happens, just go down to configure input, press your A button one time. Are you sure you want to configure input? Yes, press your A button for that. Then you're going to have to configure your input here like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold down any button for 2 seconds, let it go. Then when your configuring screen comes up, now we're going to configure our input. Right? So this is what we're going to do, guys. On our D-pad, we're going to press our up, down, left, right. You're going to want to use a nice, easy, solid, fluent motion to go through these button combinations like this, okay? You want to press your start button, your select button, your A button, B button, X button, and Y button. Left shoulder, right shoulder. Now, we don't have a left trigger on this, or a right trigger, or a left thumb, or a right thumb, so all the rest of these buttons we're going to skip through, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to hold down any button for 2 seconds and let it go. Hold it down 1, 2, let it go, hold it down 1, 2, let it go. You're going to do that, repeat the process all the way down to the very bottom of the screen. If you get like a 360 controller or a PS3 controller that's a hardwired controller, those will work with this system, and then you'll have these buttons, so you'll have to configure them. But since we don't have them, we don't need to do that. Now when you get to the bottom of this enable hotkey, we're going to skip that as well, just the same thing. Hold your button in for 2 seconds, let it go, skip past that. Press your OK button, it says A button. You didn't choose a hotkey, we understand that. This is the way I want to set it up for you. If you don't set it up this way, then you won't be able to back out of your games by pressing start and select, which is very easy and important. So I want to make sure we set it up this way. Hold in your A button for 2 seconds, let it go, let the machine do its job. And then if this main menu is still up for you, just press your start button again, puts that away. Pull up, that's main menu, just by pressing your start button. Press the start button again, it goes away. Simple as that. So if you're ever in this and you hit that button and that comes up and you don't know what to do, just press your start button again. It's that simple. Don't go down to quit. If you get down to quit, it's going to shut the machine down, so don't do that. Just start button, pulls up main menu, sends the main menu away. Simple as that. So that's how you configure your input. Easy to do if you ever need to do it. So let's talk a little bit about the navigation on this system. Anytime you get tired of a game, you decide you want to play something else, press start and select together. That'll back you right out of it. Your B button, like I said earlier, your B button goes back, backs you up. Your A button advances forward. So B button goes back, A button goes forward. As simple as that, left and right. Navigate where you want to go. It's pretty simple. There's really not much to it other than that. You just choose the platform that you want, scroll down through the list, find something you want to play, and pick it and play it. And you got to give it a couple seconds to load up, and simple as that. So let's talk a little bit about game options, controller options, things like that for this system. So as you can see, if you just scroll left and right, these are all the platforms that you have available. Vectrix, Virtual Boy, Arcade, Atari 26, Atari 78, Atari Lynx, Game Gear, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Sega Master, Sega Genesis, Neo Geo. Guys, this is every freaking game for every one of these consoles. Like the Nintendo Entertainment System is all 791 that they ever made. You press your A button and you can scroll right down through that list. You can just hold down your down arrow and just scroll right down through the list. Up arrow goes back up through the list. These are A to Z. So whatever game you can think of, it's A to Z. Some games, like for instance, The Legend of Zelda is under L for Legend of, not under Z for Zelda, but you'll find the games. You just got to look through and see what's here. Your right bumper goes down the list faster. Your left bumper goes up through the list faster. And then be careful you don't hit your over button, because if you do, you'll go over to the next platform, which is fine, but if you're trying to navigate, it can kind of get confusing. So if that ever happens, press your B button, go back to the main screen. Your B goes back, your A advances forward, and then you can go back to where you were at. See, okay, I was on Nintendo, and then you can go, scroll through the list, A to Z, just like that. Like I say, if you mess up and you hit your over button, it's going to go to the next platform. So press your B button, get out of that, and go back to where you were at. That's not real hard. It's just some little tricks to it, But yeah, it's A to Z. A to Z. Every single game they made, A to Z. You don't like anything from Nintendo, B button to back out of that, go to a different platform. Let's say you want to try the Sega Genesis 32X. There wasn't a whole lot of games for that system, but what was made is here, A to Z. Super Nintendo, all the classics, everything you remember, it's here. Thousands and thousands of games. If you just, think, about when you were a kid and what games you liked to play, games that weren't so popular, games that were popular, games that were super hard to find, games that are super expensive. You find it, you like it, pick it, you play it. It takes 10 seconds or so for the game to load up. It's just booting. You just give it time to boot up. And once it boots up, you just play the game like normal. As simple as that. As far as controllers are concerned for this system, it's really, really easy. Any wired USB controller is going to work for you. So you don't have to have specialized controllers. You don't have to go out and buy something special for, like, for instance, the NES Classic had a very specific connector on the controller. You have to buy those controllers for that system. Any wired USB controller is going to work for you. So as long as it's USB, it's going to work. You can even use arcade sticks that are USB. They'll work for it just fine. You can use any hardwired PS3 controller, 360 controller, anything like that. As long as it's hardwired, and I don't mean take the charge cable and hook up to it and plug it in. It will not recognize it like that. It has to be a hardwired controller, but any hardwired controller will work for it just fine. You got to be careful with some of the selections that you make. For instance, I do know that all the at-home brand controllers that are from like GameStop, they do not work with this system at all. So do not buy any of the controllers that are at-home brand. And you got to be careful buying some really cheap crap online, because if you buy the really junky $2 or $3 controllers, you're probably going to get what you pay for, and they're probably not going to last very long for you. So I recommend, getting a decent quality controller. That's why I send these out with the ones that I do, because they actually work very well for it. And they're a good responsive controller. They're going to last for a long time. I've used these for a while now, and I've yet to have one quit working. And early on in this, when I started doing this, I used some lot cheaper controllers, and I had problems with them often. So this brand I like. These are good controllers, so I recommend, if you need extra, just buy it from me. If you want to try to find them online yourself and save a few bucks, that's fine too. But so yeah, like I say, any wired USB controller is going to work just fine for you guys. So let's talk a little bit about these arcade games. It's a little bit different in the way that you're going to start the game. Normal games, you just press start button and away you go. But with the arcade, these boot up just like the regular arcade would. So it's actually going to be looking for a coin insert. You can't do anything until you put a coin in. And the way you're going to do that is just by pressing your select button. Once you press select, that's your credits. You can see it keeps giving you more credits. It's just like putting a coin in. Press your select. Now you can press start, and now you can start the game and play the game just fine. But you do have to have that coin insert for all the arcade games, so just got to remember the arcade games are different. You have to press your select button, and then you can press your start button, choose your character, whatever you got to do, then you can play the game. That's the way you got to do it. So that's the difference between the regular games and then the arcade games. So the absolute coolest thing about this system is the fact that you can save any game at any point within the game. So how you're going to do that is when you get to a safe spot, like that the spot coming up is really hard and that you're probably going to die, you just press your right bumper and your select button together at the same time, and that's going to create your save state. When you do that, right bumper and select button at the same time, on the bottom left hand side of the screen, you'll see that it said save state. Now you've created your save state. That means your game is saved at this exact point in time where you are right now. So if you move on a little bit further and you die, you can go back to that spot in time. The way to do that is by pressing your left bumper and select together at the same time. It takes you right back to that exact point in time. And you die, left bumper select, right back to that point. It's very simple. Until you get the hang of it and you get it figured out and you get yourself through that point that you're having a hard time with, and you get to a new spot and create another save state. Right bumper, select button creates the save state. Left bumper, select button enacts the save state. Now you can walk yourself through the games that you've never been able to beat before by creating new save states over top of them. So the other thing that you can do is you can create the save state another way, and this way is going to be a little bit more difficult. But what you're going to do is you're going to press your X button and your select together at the same time. That's going to pull up your quick menu. And when you pull up your quick menu, you can go down to save state and you can create the save state that way. Then if you get a little bit further in the game, you press your select and your X button and you go down to load state and you go back to that exact point in time. So you can do it two different ways. That way is a little bit more time consuming. The right bumper, left bumper way to do it is a lot easier. You can kind of walk yourself through games that way, but just take some time to get used to, and you'll figure it out. And when you do, you'll be happy to know that now you can beat any game that you ever play just by creating and enacting save states. So we're going to talk a little bit about troubleshooting on this device. The one thing that I do want you to know is that anytime you're going to a game and you press the button and then you press your A button too many times, you're going to get this little screen here that shows up. Now, you don't want to get in here and do anything for this right now. This is how you change your emulator, and I'll talk about that in the next segment. But anytime that screen comes up and you didn't want it to, just go down to exit without launching, and it'll take you right back to the main screen. And now just press your button again to go into the game. When you want to go into a game, just press your button one time and let it go and give it time for it to boot up. If you get crazy on the controls and you just push buttons, you're going to come up to screens that you don't want to be in. And if you're not careful, or if you have like some kids that aren't really familiar with it, they might get in there and change settings, and then before you know it, some of the games aren't working, or something could go wrong. So just be mindful of that. And other than that, other than changing the emulation, if you do have a game that just doesn't run, you can change the emulator. It's really simple to do, and I'm going to show you how to walk you through how to do that next. But that's really the only common issues I have, other than the fact that some of the games that have specialized controllers, like the Super Glove Ball, isn't going to work real well without the glove. Zapper gun games for the NES are not going to work because you obviously don't have a zapper gun. So some things like that are not going to work. Arcade games that have specialized controllers, paddles or golf clubs and things like that that you obviously don't have, just aren't going to function for you. So you may find a few games that just aren't going to work right because of the fact that you don't have the right controller for that, and they don't exactly make those kinds of controllers anymore. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, other than that, 95% of these games are going to boot and load up and play absolutely fine, and that's really, the only thing there is. So that's it pretty much for the troubleshooting. If you have any other problems, you can always give me a call at any time, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. If I can find the answer for you, I certainly will. So now I'm going to talk to you about changing the emulation. I talked briefly about that just a minute ago, and what that basically is if you have a game and when you try to play it, it just doesn't boot up for you, or maybe you try to play the game and it goes right back to the same screen, it doesn't load up, then what you're going to need to do is change the emulator for that. And how you're going to do that is when you select the game, you press your A button one time, then after you see this next screen, press your A button again. And first it doesn't do it, just give it a shot and try it again here. Press your A button a few times, let it go, and then you'll see this blue screen with this box in the middle. When you see that, you're going to go down to select emulator for ROM. It's the second setting. You're going to press that, and then you're just going to choose a different emulator to run it off of. Now it's running just fine on the emulator it's on this game. I'm just doing this just to show you what to do, so I have no need to change the emulator. But let's say I wanted to change it. You just go to whichever emulator you want, press your A button. After that, you're going to go down to exit without launching, and then you're going to go back to the screen, and you just press your button and then wait on the game to load up, and this time it'll load right up for you. And there will be a few games here and there that you might have to do that with, and like I said, you may find a game or two that doesn't work, but for the most part, these games are all working great. And I'm in the process of going through and eliminating the ones that are like the game guns, the light guns, things like that aren't going to function anyway, and removing those. But it's just taken a little bit of time because, there's over 9,000 games, and I just don't have that kind of time to sit down and go through them all. But eventually I will get that all ironed out so that every game on here, if it's a light gun game, it's just not here. That way you won't have that issue. But yeah, so that's pretty much it as far as changing the emulation. It's really simple. There's nothing to it, and that should really help you out, guys. So when you're all done and you've played this thing for about 14 days and your eyes can't stay open anymore, it's time to shut it down. So instead of just shutting it down on the system, I mean, you can just simply push the power button and slide the power buttons and shut it off. But that's kind of hard on the system. That's almost like yanking the controller or the cord out of your computer at home. You know, when you want to shut your computer down, you don't just yank the cord out of the wall, you shut it down. And this thing has a similar shutdown process. All you do is when you're on your main menu here, just press your start button. It brings up your main screen, your main menu. I want you to go down to quit, select quit. Go all the way to the bottom, shut down system, really shut down system, and it's going to go through a shutdown process. It takes 5 or 10 seconds. I'd say wait about 10 seconds. Once you wait 10 seconds, it's safe to shut the device off, and then you can just flip the switch to shut the system off. Then the next time you want to play it, all you have to do is turn the system on. It'll boot right up. It'll come right on, and it go through just like you did before. So that's pretty much it as far as shutting down the system. Easy to do, nothing to it. And if you have any other questions or anything, you can always contact me anytime. So that's it for the tutorial video, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. I know it's pretty much boring and everything, but this will walk you through exactly what you need, to be able to operate this little system right here. So now you can see how cool they are. Now you can enjoy it. Plug it in, hook it up, check it out. It's really neat. If you do have any problems, like I've said several times over this video, call me. Don't hesitate to get a hold of me. If you can't figure something out, give me a call. I'll walk you through it. If you think something's wrong with it, or if you think it doesn't work right or something, you can always send it back. I'll fix it, replace it. But like I say, chances are you're going to buy this, you're going to love it, you're going to hold on to it for a long, long time, and probably never talk to me again, and that's just fine too. What I would love you to do, though, is give me a review. Tell me what you think. I always appreciate good remarks. They look good for me, and they help my reputation as I continue to sell. But anyway, guys, once again, I thank you very much. I hope you enjoy your retro game emulation system. I hope you love it, and I hope you thank me for it. And I thank you for your business as always. Thank you very much, and have a good day.